What's going on, guys? I'm just kind of casually hanging out by our Xbox 360 shelves today, and for good reason. I've been trying now for the past couple of weeks to reorganize our whole collection up in our new game loft, and it's kind of a challenge, and it kind of also inspired me to talk a little bit about game collecting in general, and especially now that we're well into 2025, and it almost seems like at this point, game collecting has become the most sensitive subject you can talk about, because there's so many different opinions about it, and whether you should collect retro and new stuff in general, should you just go digital only, should you stop gaming altogether? And I'm not here to talk about all of that, but it's just kind of inspired me to talk about my experience with game collecting and as I'm reorganizing this stuff, because it's one of those things that kind of crossed my mind and crossed our minds when we were moving recently. It's just like, this is a ton of work. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of storage as well. You can't just plop up some bookshelves and then hope for the best. You have to strategize and organize it well if it's going to be worth your time. So, and considering that we haven't really done game shelf videos for the Xbox 360, which is still to this day my favorite console, my favorite one to collect for, and it happens to be our largest game library as well. And a lot of you guys watching our videos, you really enjoy the Xbox 360, so that's that's always a plus in my book. So, but it's been difficult to make videos about the 360, especially the game shelf ones, because where do we start? What angle do we come in at with this console? Because I don't want to make like 16-part videos about our game shelves with 1,000 360 games, because the truth is, over time, I'm sure we've also collected a lot of stuff we don't really want to collect, really. Like it's more or less games that we picked up along the way and they seemed good at the time and never got around to them, because we play a lot of our games. We don't just collect video games, but it is difficult to get through all of these games, and it's becoming harder and harder to go back to older consoles, for me at least, and play them. It's safe to say that, even if the collection has grown over time, maybe it's time to start curating a little bit, especially the 360 games. And, if you're new to collecting 360, hopefully our videos can help you out. I try to be as specific as possible on game recommendations, games that I would play and have played, and also just in general games I would add to my collection if I come across them. There's a lot of good examples here, so let me just think of a game here that I've had for a while, but I haven't played it yet. So here's a good example. So it's like, here's Damnation right here. So this is a game that it's like a third-person shooter. Picked this up a long time ago. It was relatively difficult to find. Don't think it was too expensive, maybe like $8 or so. I do want to play this one. It has multiplayer, it has co-op, but who's going to play this with me in 2025, right? Like it's not the most sought after game. And it's just, is this one of those games that I play at one time and then I just kind of move on from it? Like, why do I need to have something like this in my collection? And another good example here is this game. It took me forever to source like the best possible copy of this, including manual and artwork and case and everything. This was in really poor shape, and this is Gun. And I heard a lot of people say that this is a really good game. Never played this one. Loved Red Dead, so I probably would enjoy something like this as well, a Western. And there aren't that many Western games really, except for Gun, Colo Juarez, and Red Dead. So this is a copy that took me a long time to get, and even past playing this one, I probably would hold on to it, because it took so much work, in a sense, to get this copy to be as good as it is currently. So, it's just kind of always been difficult to look at a game and try to figure out, like, what do I want to keep in the end? And here's another weird one here that I put in a plastic sleeve, apparently. So this is Knight's Contract. We found this at some random video store that sold video games. I think they still rented out DVDs and Blu-rays somewhere around Vancouver, BC. I think it's like Langley, BC. So if you're ever in that area, you should check out that store. It's pretty cool. So I think it's a previous rental store, but they still sell retro video games and stuff like that. And it's probably the only game store in that area. But this is a great example of like we picked this one up, and I don't know if I'm ever going to play this game. You know, this is a Bandai Namco title. I think it shot up in price last year. A lot of people talked about this one, but did people ever really talk about this one? You know, we picked this one up maybe like 3-4 years ago, and I don't know, who knows if either of us will play it. So what's kind of the point of having this in a collection, right? So, but it's cool to have it. You know, there's a good story behind it. So maybe that's why it's a little bit harder to get rid of some of these games, because I generally don't like to get rid of stuff, but I also don't like to feel like I'm just holding on to it for no reason. And another great example here of two games that I haven't played yet that I've been holding on to for a long time, but I probably will keep them. It's Family Guy and then the Simpsons game. You know, these have become more and more expensive and more rare over time. I have no idea if these games are good or not. I haven't gotten around to playing them. I feel like just all of these kind of TV shows, cartoon games, they kind of tend to become rare over time because you kind of just ignore them when they come out, and then everyone wants them later on, right? When a show is more popular than it was when it first launched, or, you know, obviously The Simpsons has been around forever, but something like the Family Guy show, you know, it's been around for a while, and they got canceled and brought back, and then suddenly people realize there's a game for it. And yeah, I mean, it's very fascinating, and I'm going to put these back where they were. Although the collection is in complete disarray right now. I like to have things alphabetically, but, you know, I just kind of threw them on the shelf just because I needed some extra boxes when we were moving. So then I just kind of threw things on the shelf. But it's just other examples here too. Here's a good one, actually. So Watchmen, The End is Nigh, parts 1 and 2. So this is a game that was actually very expensive digitally for a while, especially on the 360. I'm actually not sure if this came out on the PS3. So, you know, as you can see, I primarily collected on the 360 and played on the 360. But this is another one where it took me a long time to find this one, especially for a good price. And obviously now that the 360 store shut down, then, you know, you can't find this one anywhere else. So this has probably become a little bit more sought after at this point. I have no idea if this is a good game or not, but, you know, I'm glad I bought it when I did, so I don't have to, you know, fight over the same games with everyone else. So it's just one of those things, I think, where, yeah, the more difficult it was to find for me, the more inclined I am to keep it too. So it's just kind of, when you look at some of the shovelware, perhaps, you know, and here's a great example. You know, I'm sure you've heard of this game, Hannah Montana the movie. I think this came out on other systems as well, but I played like 5 minutes of this and I just couldn't stomach playing it. It was just so bad. And I know it's an easy game, easy gamer score, and that's why I bought it, because it's just one of those things that just popped up somewhere, and I was like, hey, I should get this one. But I mean, if I even play this one, this is immediately going in the trash afterwards, you know, or going in trade-in pile. Like, this is just not something that I should even have in the collection. You know, I never really been one to go for a full set. I go for series and sometimes, yeah, subsets and everything, but I have never really cared to get a complete NTSC set or a PAL set or a Japanese or whatever is available. I do love having the Japanese releases. Let's see if I can find one here that we didn't get in America. I think this guy right here, this is a good example. So Arcana Heart 3. So this only came out in Japan and in Europe. I don't know if this was UK only or if the rest of Europe as well, but obviously it was a PAL release, so you could play it in any country over there. So yeah, so this one never released in the US. I'm not sure why, but this is one that I picked up in Japan last time we were there and got it for a good deal too. And I think it was cigarette smoke damaged, which is something you definitely need to be on the lookout for when you go to Japan and go game shopping, is they will have little notes on here So even if you don't speak Japanese, use a Google Translate. And it took me a while to realize what certain translations meant, because they didn't specifically say cigarette damage. It just said like something smell. And that was my cue to be like, okay, so this was a previous smoker that used to own this game. So I got this for like maybe $5. And yeah, so it smelled of cigarettes. So I think I got most of the smell out of here though, but it's just something to keep in mind. But that would be a good example of a game that I would keep, and just the fact that it never came out in the US. And I think other examples too, I would keep the exclusives. You know, this is a weird one here. Kengo Legend of the Nine. Also one that we found on a vacation in Canada and just game hunting over there. And it just seems to be just some games that are almost extinct in the US. But then in Canada, there's like a lot of these that pop up from time to time. So this is one that I would keep, absolutely. And, you know, working through this and trying to curate more and more, this would be, yeah, definitely one I would keep. And we feature this one in a different video too. Like, we want to actually talk about more of the 360 exclusives. We just gotta get situated and then basically find all the games again. That's kind of important for making a video. And probably like the biggest reason for keeping some of these for me as well is, you know, here's a great example, actually, the Spider-Man games. So I miraculously have them all together here. So we have, yeah, Friend or Foe, we have Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Shattered Dimensions, Web of Shadows, and then Edge of Time. So Edge of Time is actually the only one I haven't played yet, but I like these games. I mean, I don't think they're incredible. They're probably more 7 out of 10 type games, except for maybe Friend or Foe. This one is not as good, but this is an example of games I wouldn't get rid of, just considering how long it took me to find all of them, get them complete in box. And if you've been looking for these, whether you're in the PAL region or in the US, you know how difficult it's been over the years to find these, especially complete. And looking at these games, I want to play as many as possible, because kind of what was the driving force behind collecting so much on the 360 was gamer score. That is the honest truth. It wasn't so much like I want my shelves to look good, but over time I just bought games that were very cheap at the time. And eventually I just I would pick up 3 or 4 of them at a time and didn't get a chance to play them yet. So I would just pick a game and then I would buy 4 others. And, especially from GameStop, they had these sales all the time. And I think we've slowed down a little bit lately. We are getting back to more gaming. Obviously, making content for YouTube takes a lot of time as well. And so we're trying to find a good balance right now of still curating our collection, playing the games. I'm very excited to actually go back and play a lot of these 360 games that I either started many years ago or haven't even played yet. And another aspect of that too that I've found lately, at least, and I'm not saying that this is going to be forever, but lately game hunting hasn't felt as exciting as it was maybe a couple years ago. And I think maybe it's because I know I go to a store now and they're not going to have crazy deals. I see a lot of games I still want for the collection that I still want to play, but if you go to a store now and then you look at a game like this, so this is Saw 2. This is the second time that I've owned this game. First time I played it, I played Saw 1 and 2, and I got rid of it. Like, I just kind of either traded it back at GameStop or I just returned it. I can't remember, but I was like, these games aren't that good. And of course, over time, they've become very rare and very expensive, especially this one. But this is a game, obviously, I would probably not get rid of again, even if I played it. But I know how difficult it is to find it. But I actually got this one, which is kind of a funny story. I got this one from a person on Facebook Marketplace. This must have been during COVID. And they had a lot of multiple 360 games. And I just... this one caught my eye, and it didn't really specify a price on it, but it was just kind of random things. And I just messaged them and saying like, hey, how much for just Saw 2? That's all I did. And to be fair, I don't really like Facebook Marketplace. I think it is very annoying to deal with people over Facebook Marketplace, both selling and buying. But I took a chance on this one. I said, how much do you want? and they just like, I don't know, how much are you offering? Which is very rare. Usually it's like some shady stuff going on behind the scenes. And I say, how about $10? And then they're like, okay, meet you in however long. And then, yeah, met up, $10. And then it came back into my collection. It was complete as well. So, but you can't go to a game store anymore and expect to find this for $10, So then that excitement is kind of gone. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that, where it's not as exciting to buy stuff online. It's almost too easy. You go to a store now, you almost have to bring in like a box of games to trade in to buy one game that you want for your collection. And that's just not good business for me, really, because a good business for them, for sure, but it's just kind of, you go into a brick and mortar store now, and you almost expect to be met with eBay prices, and it's just, at least at the moment, it's not very exciting to go game hunting, and in turn, you're kind of like, yeah, what am I actually adding to our collection that we can benefit from here? So, because there's obviously lots of games to still play. I don't think we'll get to a point where we will get rid of our entire collection. I think it is healthy over time to kind of make that assessment to where, like, do you need all these games at the moment? But I wanted to show one more here too, that it's kind of one of those weird ones where, and it's probably been in the frame, in the shot for the entire video so far, but this is a weird one too, that obviously this is a PAL release, but this is a sealed game. It's not a perfect seal, if you may, because there's still some rips and tears in it, but I know this triggers a lot of people when you talk about sealed games, as if, in this case, I have not played this game, but it would be very difficult to find this game for me right now. I bought this many years ago, and I don't even remember if I knew that it was sealed. It was just one of those, they almost gave it away, right? But this is kind of a very expensive game online right now because nobody ever talks about this. Nobody ever cares. But this was a Europe release, I believe, because we didn't get this one over here. Iron Sky Invasion, and this is based on a movie that I haven't watched. So, but this is a good example, and I think it's okay to, again, have stuff like this in a collection. And since this is the only copy that I have, this is the one I'm going to be opening and playing whenever I get around to it. So I think it is nice to have stuff that you take good care of and that you are happy to have in your collection, whether it's complete, whether it's just the disc only, or if it's like a sealed copy that you always wanted to have. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of an update that I wanted to make here. Not like the typical video that we normally make, but I kind of felt inspired to give my take on some of this stuff too, especially with the amount of discussions and topics that have been going around lately on game collecting. And, I think we are very firm on wanting to continue to collect and make videos about collecting, especially for the older generations. I know we have a couple of videos that we have planned here soon once we get everything organized again. But this is kind of what I wanted to say today, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.